In 2008, Elon Musk wasn't thinking about changing the world. He wasn't thinking about the future of transportation or the future of space travel or any grand vision like that. He was thinking about one very simple question. How do I keep this from falling apart? Because that year, everything he was building was on the edge of collapse. A few years earlier, things had looked very different. Elon Musk had just sold PayPal. He suddenly had more money than most people ever make in a lifetime. For most people, that's the moment you slow down. You invest carefully. You stop taking big risks. Musk didn't. Instead, he took the money and poured it into two ideas that almost everyone thought were unrealistic. Electric cars and rockets, not as side projects, not as hobbies, as full-scale companies. Tesla and SpaceX. And by 2008, both of them were failing at the same time. Let's start with SpaceX. The goal was simple to explain, but brutally hard to pull off. Build a rocket that could reach orbit. Governments have been trying to do this for decades, spending billions of dollars. Even they failed regularly. SpaceX was a small private company trying to do it with a fraction of the budget. The first launch failed. That wasn't shocking. Early failures were expected. The second launch failed too. Now people started paying attention. The third launch was supposed to be the one that proved they were learning. It failed as well. 3 failures in a row. By that point, investors were nervous. Engineers were exhausted. And the media had started treating SpaceX like a bad joke. And Elon Musk was paying for much of this himself. The money from PayPal was draining fast. While SpaceX was failing in space, Tesla was struggling on Earth. Tesla wasn't really a car company yet. It was more like a fragile experiment. The plan was to start with a high-end electric sports car, the Roadster, and use that to fund future models. On paper, it made sense. In reality, everything cost more than expected. Parts were delayed. Manufacturing was complicated. Disagreements inside the company grew. Money started leaving the company faster than it came in. At one point, Tesla had only days of cash left. Not months. Days. Payroll was coming, and there was a real chance employees wouldn't be paid. This is the part people don't usually talk about. Because failure at this level isn't dramatic. It doesn't explode. It just hangs over you. Every meeting becomes tense. Every phone call feels urgent. Every decision feels like it might be the wrong one. Musk later said this was the most painful period of his life. Not because of fear, because of pressure. He was running both companies at once. Flying between factories, sleeping on floors, working constantly, trying to keep SpaceX alive, trying to keep Tesla alive. And slowly, a realization set in. There wasn't enough money for both. Something was going to fail. That realization didn't arrive all at once. At first, Musk believed he could raise more money. Then he believed he could delay the collapse long enough for something to change. Eventually, he had to face reality. If SpaceX failed again, it was finished. If Tesla didn't secure funding, it would collapse. There was no easy choice. Saving one company might mean letting the other die. SpaceX had one last chance. A fourth launch. Everyone inside the company knew what it meant. If it failed, SpaceX would shut down. No more attempts. No backup plan. Years of work would disappear quietly. The launch was scheduled for September 28, 2008. By then, no one was confident anymore. They were focused. On launch day, there was no excitement. Just silence and concentration. The countdown started. The rocket lifted off. Seconds passed. Then more seconds. And for the first time, something different happened. It didn't fail. Falcon 1 reached orbit. For the first time ever, a privately developed liquid-fueled rocket had done it. Inside SpaceX, there wasn't cheering. There was relief. People sat down. They breathed. Because when you've been on the edge that long, survival feels better than celebration. That one success didn't make SpaceX successful. It made it alive. Soon after, NASA awarded SpaceX a contract. Not because SpaceX was dominant, but because it had proven it could work. That contract kept the company alive. Barely. Around the same time, Tesla secured emergency funding. At the last possible moment. If it had come a little later, the company would have collapsed. Both companies survived by inches. Not because everything went right, but because everything didn't go wrong at the same time. Years later, People would look back at 2008 and tell this story like it was inevitable. They'd say Elon Musk was always going to succeed, that the vision was obvious. But in 2008, nothing felt obvious. It felt fragile, temporary, one bad decision away from ending. Here's the part that actually matters. The turning point wasn't success. It was survival. Musk didn't win that year. He stayed. He kept both companies alive long enough for the future to arrive. And that's something most stories skip, because survival isn't glamorous. It's exhausting. The lesson here isn't about genius, or confidence, or believing in yourself. It's about staying when quitting would have made sense. Sometimes the most important moment in a story isn't when everything works, because sometimes success doesn't begin with a breakthrough. It begins with one quiet decision. Don't stop yet. It's when everything almost ends, and somehow doesn't. Add a quick finishing line and suggest scenes for the video.